Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Failure is often misunderstood. We are taught from a young age to avoid failure at all costs, to succeed at everything we try, and to never show weakness. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success, it is an essential part of it. Without failure, success would have no depth, no meaning, no foundation to stand on. Think about it. If everything were easy, if every step you took led to instant results, would you really appreciate what you achieved? Would the victories feel as sweet? Would they hold the same value? The answer is no. It is in the struggle, in the setbacks, that we truly find our strength, our purpose, and our resilience. Failure is not something to be feared or avoided. It's a crucial ingredient in the process of growth. Every time we fail, we get a little bit closer to understanding what doesn't work, what needs to be improved, and what requires a new approach. It gives us the space to pivot, to rethink our strategies, and to come up with innovative solutions that we might never have discovered if we hadn't failed. In fact, failure often teaches us more than success ever could. When you succeed, everything feels easy and the lessons can be easily overlooked. But when you fail, you are forced to pause, reflect, and find meaning in what went wrong. It's during those moments of reflection that you develop wisdom, perseverance, and a deeper understanding of your own capabilities. Success without the context of failure would be hollow. The struggle, the lessons learned, the resilience built, these are what give success its true value. Consider the most inspiring stories of people who achieve greatness, whether it's in business, sports, or personal development. Almost every one of them has faced some kind of failure, sometimes many failures along the way. Take the example of Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb, or Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team but went on to become one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. Even Oprah Winfrey, who faced numerous setbacks and rejections early in her career, didn't let those failures define her. She used them as stepping stones to greater achievements. These stories are not exceptions, they are the rule. Success is never a straight line. It's a winding road filled with detours, bumps, and obstacles. And each of those detours, each of those failures is a necessary part of the path. Failure teaches us how to keep going when things get tough. It shows us what we're made of, what we're capable of enduring, and how much stronger we can become. So let's stop seeing failure as a final destination. Let's stop fearing it, and instead, let's recognize it for what it truly is, an integral part of the process of becoming who we're meant to be. Failure is not the end of the journey, it's simply another step on the road to something greater. One of the most powerful truths I want you to take away today is this: everyone fails. Every single person who has ever achieved something extraordinary, whether it's in business, sports, the arts, or even personal growth, has faced failure at some point. And I want to emphasize this: failure is universal. It's not reserved for a select few or for those who aren't good enough. It is a part of the human experience, something we all go through, regardless of our background or the level of success we achieve. Think about the people we look up to, the ones who inspire us with their courage, their vision, their perseverance. Behind their success stories is a trail of failure. In fact, many of their greatest achievements were born from their most significant setbacks. We often hear about the glory of their triumphs, but we rarely hear about the countless failures, the moments when they doubted themselves or the times they came up short. Take the example of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. When she first submitted her manuscript to publishers, it was rejected 12 times. Imagine that. A world-changing story like Harry Potter was rejected over and over again. But she didn't give up. She kept going. She continued to believe in her story, and eventually one publisher said yes, and the rest is history. What if she had listened to those rejections? What if she had given up after the first or the 10th rejection? Her failure was simply a part of her journey to greatness. And then there's the story of Steve Jobs, one of the most iconic innovators of our time. He was fired from the company he founded, Apple. Think about that for a moment. A visionary, a genius, someone who revolutionized technology, was kicked out of the very company that bore his name. Yet, instead of being destroyed by failure, he used it as fuel. He went on to create Pixar and later returned to Apple to lead it into its most successful era. His failure was not the end of his story. It was part of the process that allowed him to come back stronger and wiser than ever before. This idea that failure is inevitable is liberating, because it means that no one is exempt. No matter how much success someone has, they have failed along the way. They've had to deal with rejection, disappointment, criticism, and doubt. And in fact, it's likely that their journey to success would not have been possible without those very failures. Failure isn't just something that happens in the big moments either. It happens in the day-to-day, in the small decisions, and the choices we make. It happens when we take risks and don't always get the results we hope for. We fail when we try something new, when we push the boundaries of our comfort zone, and when we don't succeed right away. But that's the point. If we never fail, we're probably not taking enough risks. If we never fail, we're probably playing it too safe. When we experience failure, we often feel alone. We think, why is this happening to me? Why does it seem like everyone else is succeeding while I'm stuck here? But the truth is, we are all in this together. Every single one of us has stumbled, tripped, and fallen on our way to wherever we are now. And it's okay to admit that. Because failure is not a reflection of your worth or your potential, it's simply a part of the journey. The people who succeed are the ones who choose to keep going, even after the failure. Failure is not an indictment of who you are or your abilities. It's simply a signal that you're stretching, that you're growing, that you're pushing yourself towards something new and better. We all fail, but what sets successful people apart is how they respond to it. They don't let failure define them, they let it refine them. They take the lessons from it and they keep moving forward. So the next time you fail, whether it's big or small, remember, you are in good company. Every person you admire, every person who's ever accomplished something significant has failed. And if you can accept that failure is inevitable, that it is part of the process, then you can embrace it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to keep moving toward your dreams. One of the most damaging misconceptions about failure is that it somehow defines us. That if we fail, we are marked by it, forever labeled as not good enough, incapable, or unworthy. We begin to think that failure is a reflection of who we are as people. But the truth is, failure does not define you, it refines you. It is not an identity, it is an experience. And that experience can be one of the most powerful catalysts for personal growth, change, and transformation. Let's be clear, failing does not make you less than. It does not make you any less worthy of success, happiness, or love. It does not strip away your value as a person. In fact, failure can often reveal your true strength and resilience. And those qualities are far more valuable than any perfect outcome. The reality is that we are human, and being human means that we will stumble and fall. But those stumbles don't erase our potential, they actually pave the way for us to unlock it. Consider a sculptor working on a block of marble. The marble starts as a rough, imperfect mass, but with each precise strike of the chisel, the sculptor begins to reveal the shape hidden within. The imperfections, the chips, the rough edges, they are necessary for creating something beautiful. In the same way, failure is the chisel that shapes and refines us. It allows us to learn from our mistakes, adapt our approach, and come out stronger and more capable than before. Failure offers us a mirror, showing us where we need to grow and what we need to learn. It's an opportunity to assess what worked, what didn't, and what we can do differently next time. Every time we fail, we gain new wisdom. We discover what we're truly made of, and we often develop a deeper understanding of our own potential. It teaches us humility, patience, and resilience. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and challenges us to become better versions of ourselves. I want you to think about a time when you failed at something. Reflect on the moment it happened. It probably felt devastating, didn't it? You might have thought, I'm never going to make it, or I'll never be good enough. But now, looking back, think about the lessons you learned from that failure. Maybe it taught you the importance of preparation, or maybe you discovered a skill or strength you didn't know you had. Perhaps it pushed you to be more resourceful, more creative, or more persistent. In many ways, that failure made you who you are today, wiser, stronger, more capable. Failure also builds character. It teaches us how to handle adversity with grace and how to bounce back stronger than before. It strengthens our emotional resilience and helps us cultivate a mindset that sees setbacks as temporary, not permanent. It teaches us not to take things personally, or to believe that a moment of failure is an indictment of who we are as individuals. Failure is an event, not an identity. And the best part is that it's temporary. It's not forever. It's just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. When we fail and rise again, we're practicing the art of perseverance. We're developing the kind of grit that doesn't give up after the first, second, or 10th setback. We're learning how to trust ourselves in the face of uncertainty and how to keep moving forward, even when the road is rocky. These are the traits that create lasting success. Failure is the ultimate teacher, shaping us into the person who can truly appreciate success when it comes. So let go of the idea that failure somehow diminishes you. Let go of the belief that it makes you less worthy or less capable. Failure is not your enemy, it's your greatest ally. It's there to help you grow, to strengthen you, to guide you. Every time you fail, you have an opportunity to refine your approach, to redefine your goals, and to reshape your future. You become better because of it, not in spite of it. Remember, this failure doesn't make you less of a person, it makes you more. It makes you more resilient, more resourceful, more compassionate, and more prepared for the next challenge. Don't fear failure, embrace it. Because in the end, it's not failure that will hold you back, it's the belief that failure defines you. There is a quality that separates those who achieve their dreams from those who give up along the way. That quality is resilience. It is not intelligence, talent, or even resources that ultimately determine success. It is the ability to bounce back after you've been knocked down, to rise again when everything seems to be working against you. Resilience is the secret weapon of every successful person, every trailblazer, every person who has ever overcome adversity to make something incredible out of their lives. I want you to think about something for a moment. Picture the most difficult time in your life. Maybe it was a personal setback, a career failure, or a moment when you felt like the world was too heavy to bear. What kept you going? What made you stand up again after you fell? It wasn't your circumstances, it wasn't the absence of challenges, it was your ability to get back up, even when it felt impossible. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, that's a myth. Life is full of challenges, big and small. What matters is how we respond to those challenges. Do we let them break us, or do we find the strength to keep moving forward, even when the odds are stacked against us? Resilience is the ability to rise above the pain, the failure, the loss, and to use those experiences as fuel for growth and progress. It's easy to look at successful people and assume they've had it easy, that they just had natural talent, or everything always went according to plan. But the truth is, the most successful people are the ones who have failed the most, the ones who have been knocked down repeatedly but have refused to stay down. They have learned how to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and keep going no matter what. Think about athletes who push their bodies to the limit. They train relentlessly, often enduring pain, injury, and exhaustion. And yet, when they fall short of a goal or suffer a setback, they don't quit. They don't let one failure define them. They use that setback as a stepping stone, as an opportunity to refine their technique, to build their endurance, and to come back stronger. Resilience is built through adversity. It's developed through the tough times, the failures, and the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. Every time you get back up after a fall, you're building your resilience. You're strengthening your mental muscles. And just like any other skill, the more you exercise your resilience, the stronger it becomes. But resilience isn't just about perseverance, it's also about adaptability. Life doesn't always go as planned. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can control how you respond to them. Resilience is about being flexible, about adjusting to the unexpected, and finding a new path when the old one no longer works. It's about learning to pivot, to let go of what isn't serving you, and to embrace the possibilities that lie ahead. And here's the most important part: resilience is not about going through life without pain. It's about how you handle that pain. Every person who has ever faced hardship, failure, or loss has had to navigate that pain, and how they did it determined the course of their journey. Resilience is not the absence of struggle, it's the ability to thrive despite it. Think about a tree in a storm. The winds may bend the tree, but it doesn't break. The storm may push it in every direction, but the tree stays rooted. In the same way, resilience is about staying grounded, staying true to your purpose, and weathering the storms of life. It's about remembering that no matter how strong the wind blows, you are stronger than you think. And with each storm you face, you become more rooted, more stable, and more capable of handling the next one. Let's be honest, life will not always be easy. There will be moments when it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, when you feel like giving up is the only option. But resilience is what allows you to break through that feeling of helplessness, to take the next step, even when you don't have all the answers. It's about taking your failures and transforming them into lessons. It's about saying, I may not have succeeded this time, but I will learn, I will adapt, and I will rise again. If you develop resilience, you will have the power to turn your setbacks into comebacks. You will develop the strength to keep going, even when it feels like you're running on empty. Resilience is what fuels your ability to keep moving forward. It's what allows you to find meaning and purpose, even when life throws you curveballs. And in the end, resilience will take you farther than talent or luck ever could. It's the thing that will push you through the tough times and the quality that will keep you striving for your dreams, no matter how many times you fall. Success is not about avoiding failure, it's about bouncing back from it. There is an old saying that goes, failure is the greatest teacher. It's a phrase that's often brushed off, dismissed as a cliche or a well-meaning but overly simplistic thought. But when you truly reflect on it, there is a profound truth in those words. Failure teaches us lessons that no success ever could. It's in our failures that we uncover the deepest, most meaningful lessons about who we are, what we value, and how we can improve. When you succeed at something, the moment is sweet, but the lessons are often fleeting. Success can create a sense of complacency, a feeling that we've mastered something, that we've figured it out, but failure doesn't allow for complacency. It forces us to pause, to reflect, and to ask the tough questions. What went wrong? What can I do differently next time? What can I learn from this experience? Failure doesn't just allow us to rest on our laurels, it demands that we grow, adapt, and evolve. Think about a time you failed, whether it was a personal setback, a professional disappointment, or even a small mistake you made. Initially, it likely felt discouraging or even devastating. You might have questioned your abilities or wondered if you were on the right path at all. But in the days, weeks, or months that followed, I'm sure you began to see the value in that failure. You may have realized that the setback was exactly what you needed to shift your perspective, refine your approach, or take a different direction. Failure teaches us resilience. It shows us that it's okay to fall, that setbacks are not permanent, and that every fall is an opportunity to rise stronger. It gives us the courage to try again, to take another risk, and to face our fears without letting them paralyze us. Resilience, after all, is born from failure. Without failure, there is no opportunity to practice bouncing back. Failure also teaches us humility. We often hear that success can go to someone's head, that it can create arrogance or a sense of invincibility. But when we fail, it humbles us, it brings us back to earth. We realize that no matter how much we know or how hard we try, we are still human, and being human means we will stumble. It is in the humbling moments of failure that we learn to be more compassionate with ourselves and with others. We come to understand that failure is not something to be ashamed of, it's something that everyone experiences. Furthermore, failure helps us identify our weaknesses, and weaknesses are not something to be afraid of. They are opportunities for growth. When you fail at something, you are often forced to confront your limitations. Maybe you didn't plan well enough, maybe you lacked certain skills or didn't anticipate obstacles, but those are the very things that you can work on. Failure highlights areas where you need to grow, and it gives you the clarity and focus to improve. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're learning to play the piano. At first, you might make mistakes hitting the wrong notes, missing a beat, or playing a piece much slower than you intended. Each of these mistakes can feel frustrating, and for some they might lead to quitting. But it's through these failures that you develop your technique, improve your timing, and sharpen your focus. Over time, you'll realize that it wasn't the perfect notes you played in the beginning that helped you grow, it was the mistakes you made and how you learned from them that truly honed your skills. Similarly, failure often teaches us what we truly care about. It forces us to reevaluate our goals and desires. When we fail, we get to the heart of why we're pursuing something in the first place. Was it something we truly wanted, or was it influenced by external expectations or the pursuit of approval? Failure strips away the distractions and brings clarity about our true intentions and passions. It often brings us back to our why, the purpose, and the fire that drives us. When we fail and then rise again, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper commitment to our goals. Another critical lesson failure teaches us is how to make better decisions. Often we fail because we rushed into something without considering all the variables, or because we took a shortcut, or even because we ignored our instincts. But each time we fail, we have the opportunity to reflect on our decision-making process and learn how to approach things differently next time. Failure teaches us how to make smarter, more informed decisions in the future, and how to trust our judgment. Perhaps the most important lesson failure teaches is the value of persistence. It shows us that success doesn't always come on the first try or the second or even the third. Success comes from the willingness to keep going, to keep trying, to keep learning, even when the road ahead seems difficult or uncertain. Failure teaches us that the path to success is rarely a straight line. It's a winding road filled with obstacles, detours, and setbacks. But persistence in the face of those setbacks is what will ultimately lead you to your destination. In the end, the lessons learned in failure often provide more value than those learned in success. Failure gives us the tools to succeed. It gives us patience, resilience, humility, and an unwavering commitment to our goals. It teaches us not just how to succeed, but why success matters and how to sustain it over the long run. So the next time you fail, don't be discouraged. Take a moment to pause, reflect, and learn. There is always a lesson in every failure, and those lessons are the very things that will carry you to your ultimate success. One of the biggest barriers to achieving greatness is the fear of making mistakes. We're often taught from an early age to avoid errors at all costs, to strive for perfection, and to stay within the lines. As a result, many of us grow up believing that mistakes are something to fear, something that should be avoided at all costs. But here's the truth: mistakes are not your enemy. In fact, mistakes are often your greatest ally in the journey towards success. Mistakes and setbacks aren't something to avoid, they are opportunities for learning and growth. I want you to think about the times in your life when you've made mistakes. At first, they probably felt like failures. Maybe you were embarrassed, frustrated, or disappointed with yourself. But looking back, can you see how those mistakes led to something better? Can you see how they shaped your path and helped you become who you are today? Mistakes are the stepping stones on the road to success. Without them, the road would be smoother, yes, but it would also be lacking the depth of experience that makes success truly meaningful. When we make mistakes, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism. We begin to think, I'm not good enough, or I'm not capable of succeeding, but mistakes are not a reflection of your worth. They are simply a reflection of the process you're going through. The more we take risks and put ourselves out there, the more we're bound to stumble from time to time. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. Mistakes give us a unique opportunity to assess our approach, learn new things, and adjust our course. Consider how children learn to walk. They don't get it right the first time or the second, or even the third. They fall, they get back up, and they try again. And each time they fall, they learn something new. They learn balance, coordination, and persistence. They learn that falling isn't the end, it's part of the process of growth. The same is true for adults. When you make a mistake, it's like that child learning to walk. It's not a sign of failure, it's a step forward in the learning process. Mistakes give you the chance to course correct. They show you where you went wrong, where your approach didn't work, and they help you figure out what you need to change in order to move forward. When you make a mistake, you're forced to reevaluate your strategy, your thinking, and your methods. You get to see things from a new perspective. And that perspective often reveals new solutions, new ideas, and new paths forward. Think about the greatest innovators in history, people like Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, or Steve Jobs. They didn't succeed because they avoided mistakes. They succeeded because they embraced them. They viewed every failure as an opportunity to learn something new. Thomas Edison, for example, is famous for saying, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Every mistake, every misstep was simply another lesson on his path to invention. In fact, mistakes are essential to innovation. If you're never making mistakes, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough, you're probably not trying anything new, and you're certainly not taking enough risks. Great achievements come from taking bold steps, from stepping into the unknown, and from trying things that haven't been done before. And with that boldness comes the inevitable chance of failure. Mistakes also teach us self-compassion. When you make a mistake, how do you treat yourself? Do you criticize and berate yourself, or do you acknowledge that you're human and that mistakes are a part of the process? Self-compassion is one of the most important qualities you can cultivate, especially when you make mistakes. It's the ability to say, I messed up, and that's okay. I'll learn from this and I'll keep going. Mistakes also teach you patience. In our fast-paced world, we often expect things to happen quickly, and we can become frustrated when progress isn't as immediate as we'd like. But mistakes slow us down, and in that slowing down, they teach us the value of patience. They teach us that good things take time, that growth doesn't happen overnight, and that the process is just as important as the outcome. Let's not forget that mistakes foster resilience. Every time we make a mistake and rise again, we're building our mental and emotional muscles. We're learning how to handle disappointment, how to persist in the face of difficulty, and how to adapt when things don't go as planned. It's through these mistakes that we build the resilience needed to keep going, no matter how many times we fall. Mistakes teach us that failure is not final, it's just part of the journey. So the next time you make a mistake, remember it's not the mistake that matters, it's what you do after the mistake that counts. Don't let fear hold you back from taking chances, from stepping outside your comfort zone, or from trying something new. Mistakes are simply part of the process. They are not to be feared, but embraced. In our fast-paced, results-oriented world, it's easy to get fixated on the end goal, the achievement, the success, the moment when we can finally say, I made it. We're taught to think in terms of milestones, to set goals and measure our progress by the outcomes. But the truth is, success is not just about the destination, it's about everything that happens on the journey toward that destination. Success isn't a point in time, it's a process. Too often, we focus solely on the outcome, believing that once we reach the finish line, we'll finally be happy, fulfilled, and complete. We think that success is something we'll experience only once we've achieved our dream job, launched that business, earned that degree, or lost that weight. Success is a culmination of the experiences you collect, the obstacles you overcome, the resilience you build, and the people you meet along the way. The process, the messy, unpredictable, sometimes frustrating journey is what shapes who you become. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of I'll be happy when, or I'll be successful once I've reached this point. But this mindset overlooks the incredible value that comes from the day-to-day grind, the incremental progress, and the learning that happens in the moments between the start and finish. Think about it when you're climbing a mountain. The summit is the end goal, but it's the climb itself that teaches you the most. The moments when you're struggling to take the next step, when you're feeling winded and uncertain, are where you learn about your strength, your perseverance, and your capacity to overcome. The process is where the transformation happens. Each step you take, each challenge you face contributes to the person you're becoming. Embracing the process means finding joy in the journey, even when things aren't going as planned. It means recognizing that growth happens over time, and that sometimes the greatest rewards come from the struggles we face. Think about an athlete training for a championship, a writer working on a novel, or an entrepreneur building a business. They don't become successful just because they reach a final goal. Their success is built from the daily choices they make, their dedication, their focus, their willingness to keep going even when it's tough. These moments of hard work, commitment, and persistence are the true measure of success. The process is what defines the quality of the end result. If all we focus on is the destination, we miss the deeper richness of the experience. When we focus only on the goal, we risk burning out, losing motivation, or feeling empty once we achieve it. The key is to learn to love the process, to savor the small wins along the way, and to appreciate how far you've come even when you haven't yet reached the end. Every step forward is progress. Every failure is a lesson learned. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The process also teaches us the power of patience. In a world where we're constantly looking for instant results, the journey reminds us that good things take time. Real, lasting success doesn't come overnight. It comes from repeated effort, from staying committed, even when things don't unfold as quickly or easily as we might have hoped. Patience is built through the process. It teaches us that some of the most meaningful achievements require slow, steady progress, and that's okay. The process teaches us that things may not always happen on our timeline, but if we stay true to our path, the results will come. Moreover, embracing the process helps you connect more deeply with your goals. When you're not just fixated on the destination, you begin to see the joy in the work itself. You start to value the challenges as much as the victories, because they are what shape the success. You begin to ask yourself, how can I enjoy this work? How can I make the most of this moment? How can I learn and grow in this very step the process becomes meaningful in its own right? The work itself is just as important as the end result, because it's where your true growth happens. Let's not forget that success is often not a straight line. We all face setbacks, detours, and unexpected challenges. When you embrace the process, you allow yourself the space to fail, to pivot, and to try again without losing sight of your ultimate vision. It's the process that teaches us how to adapt, to rethink our strategies, and to become more resourceful in the face of adversity. The mistakes, the moments of doubt, the setbacks, these are all part of the process that leads to success. And finally, embracing the process brings you fulfillment along the way. When we make success our sole focus, we are constantly chasing something in the future. We are waiting for that moment when we can finally say, I've made it. But what happens when that moment comes? The feeling is often fleeting because we've spent so much time focusing on the future that we miss the value of the present. When you embrace the process, you find fulfillment in the daily work, in the challenge, and in the growth. You realize that success isn't just an endpoint, it's the continuous journey you're on. So I encourage you to embrace the process. Don't just look at the end goal as your ultimate measure of success. Celebrate the small victories. Acknowledge your progress. Find joy in the work, in the effort, in the learning. The journey is where the magic happens. And when you reach your destination, when you achieve your goal, you'll realize that the process itself was just as valuable as the result. But here's the truth, those voices are lies. They are not a reflection of who you truly are or what you are truly capable of. You are enough. You are good enough, capable enough, and worthy enough of success. These voices of doubt and fear only exist to keep you playing small, to keep you in your comfort zone, and to prevent you from stepping into the greatness that is waiting for you. Every person, no matter how successful, has faced self-doubt at some point in their journey. Whether it's the writer wondering if their work will ever be good enough, the entrepreneur questioning whether they're cut out for the challenges of business, or the athlete doubting their ability to win, they all experience that same voice of fear and uncertainty. The first step to overcoming self-doubt is to recognize it for what it is, a false narrative, a negative story your mind is telling you to keep you safe. The brain is hardwired to protect us from harm, but sometimes that protective mechanism can go into overdrive, making us fear failure when it's really just a part of the process. The second step is to challenge those negative thoughts. When self-doubt creeps in, ask yourself, is this thought really true? What evidence do I have that contradicts this fear if you think I'm not good enough? Ask yourself, what have I done in the past that proves I am capable? What successes, no matter how small, have I achieved? When you challenge your doubts with facts like your past achievements, your skills, your perseverance, you begin to dismantle their power. One of the most powerful things you can do to overcome self-doubt is to stop comparing yourself to others. In today's world of social media and constant comparison, it's easy to look at others and feel like we're falling behind or that we don't measure up. But remember, you are on your own unique path and everyone's journey is different. Comparing yourself to others only fuels doubt and insecurity. Another way to overcome self-doubt is to focus on your why, the deeper reason behind why you're doing what you're doing. When you connect with your purpose, the doubts become less powerful. They're no longer just about me or my limitations. They're about why you want to make a difference or what you want to contribute to the world. Don't be afraid to fail. So often self-doubt stems from the fear of failure, but failure is not the end, it's just part of the journey. Failure is feedback, not a final verdict. It's an opportunity to learn, adapt, and try again. Every successful person you admire has faced setbacks, and they didn't let them stop them. They embrace failure as a necessary step toward growth and success. When you stop fearing failure, you free yourself to try new things, to take risks, and to push past the self-imposed limits you've set. It's also important to celebrate your progress, even the small wins. Too often we wait until we've reached the big goal to feel proud of ourselves, but if we only focus on the end result, we miss out on recognizing all the effort and growth that happens along the way. Each small victory, each step you take toward your goal is a reminder that you are capable. Acknowledge those moments. When you do, you'll start to build a positive feedback loop in your mind, replacing the doubts with confidence and motivation. Surround yourself with positive influences. The people we spend time with have a profound impact on how we see ourselves. If you're surrounded by people who support you, encourage you, and believe in your potential, it's much easier to overcome self-doubt. Seek out people who lift you up and challenge you to be the best version of yourself. Find mentors, friends, and communities that share your values and your dreams. These relationships will remind you of your worth and provide the support you need to push through the doubts. Finally, remember that self-doubt is not something that disappears overnight. It's a normal part of the human experience, and even the most confident people experience it from time to time. But what matters is not whether or not you experience doubt, it's how you deal with it. When doubt arises, don't let it control you. Acknowledge it, challenge it, and keep moving forward in spite of it. The more you take action in the face of doubt, the quieter those negative voices become, and the stronger your confidence grows. You are good enough. You are capable. You are worthy of success. And the world needs what you have to offer. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is the doubt in your mind, and you have the power to overcome it. You see, every dream that's ever been realized, every major achievement, every breakthrough, every success story has been built on a foundation of risk and the very real possibility of failure. It's easy to look at someone who's made it to the top and think they had it easy. Or they were just lucky, but what we don't often see is the sacrifices they made, the risks they took, and the failures they encountered before they reached their goal. The truth is that greatness doesn't come without a willingness to face adversity, and that adversity often takes the form of failure. If you want to live a life that's extraordinary, you can't expect to play it safe all the time. You can't wait for the perfect moment, the ideal set of circumstances, or the guarantee of success before you take action. That's not how dreams are realized. Real success comes from stepping into the unknown, from daring to try something you've never done before, from putting yourself out there with no guarantee of success and no guarantee of avoiding failure. But if you don't take that step, you'll never know what could have been. Risk is inherent to progress. Think about any successful entrepreneur. They all took risks. They risked their time, their money, their reputations, and their comfort. They didn't know if their business would succeed, but they took the leap anyway, trusting in their vision, their abilities, and their resilience to overcome the obstacles that would inevitably arise. The same is true for athletes, scientists, artists, and leaders. They didn't wait for failure to be safe. They took risks because they knew that without risk, there is no reward. Failure is a natural byproduct of innovation. When you're attempting something new, when you're creating something that hasn't been done before, there's no roadmap. You will stumble, you will face setbacks, and there will be moments when it feels like everything is falling apart. But these moments of failure are the very things that teach you how to succeed. Let's be honest, the idea of failure can be terrifying. It's uncomfortable, it hurts, and it sometimes feels like a reflection of our inadequacies. But here's the secret: failure does not define you. In fact, the more you fail, the more you learn. Failure is feedback, not finality. It's a lesson in what doesn't work, which then leads to the discovery of what does. Think of failure as a tool for refinement, not a permanent state of being. The reality is that if you're not failing, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. If you're always comfortable, always staying within the lines, you're not taking the risks that will lead you to your full potential. The most successful people in history have all had one thing in common: they dared to fail. They didn't let fear of failure hold them back. They understood that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the process. One of the biggest obstacles we face in taking risks is the fear of what others will think. We worry about the judgment, the criticism, the potential ridicule. But here's the truth: most of the time, the people who are judging you have never taken the same risks themselves. They're playing it safe in their own lives and projecting that fear onto you. Don't let the fear of others' opinions stop you from pursuing your dreams. Risking failure also requires courage, persistence, and a mindset shift. It's easy to let doubt creep in when things aren't going according to plan or when you face setbacks. But success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about developing the mental and emotional stamina to keep going despite it. It's about embracing failure as a natural part of the path to success and deciding that you will not give up just because something didn't go your way. The more you risk failure, the more you discover what you're truly capable of. When you take risks, you stretch yourself, you break through self-imposed limits and discover new strengths you didn't know you had. I want you to think about the greatest moments in your life so far. What did you risk in order to achieve them? Maybe it was going after that job you weren't sure you'd get. Maybe it was starting a relationship that was uncertain. Maybe it was putting your creative work out into the world even though you feared rejection. Whatever it was, you had to risk something. Without that risk, there wouldn't have been any reward. And remember, the greatest rewards often come to those who dare to take the biggest risks. When you put yourself out there, when you take chances, when you risk failure, that's when life has the chance to surprise you with the unimaginable, the moments that go beyond what you thought was possible. So I encourage you to embrace the risk of failure. Know that it is part of the journey to success. Don't let the fear of failure paralyze you. If you want something extraordinary, you have to risk disappointment, rejection, and setbacks. But remember, with each failure, you're getting closer to your goal. You're learning, growing, and getting stronger. The reason failure is so powerful is because it forces you to learn, adapt, and grow. When you fail, you are presented with a chance to reflect what went wrong. What could you have done differently? What did you learn? If you choose to take those lessons to heart, you become wiser, more skilled, and more equipped for the next challenge. Failure gives you the feedback you need to keep refining your approach and improving your strategy. The most successful people in history didn't get there by avoiding failure. They embraced it. They understood that failure was an inevitable part of their growth, and more importantly, they understood that failure was not a reflection of their worth or ability, it was simply a part of the process. It's a rite of passage on the journey to success. It's through failing that you often discover the deeper truths about yourself, your abilities, and your resilience. Imagine a child learning to walk. They don't get up for the first time and immediately run across the room without falling. They stumble, they fall, they might even get frustrated or discouraged. But each time they get back up, they are learning how to balance, how to move their legs, how to find their footing. And every time they fail, they are that much closer to succeeding. Think about the many great inventions, discoveries, and breakthroughs in history. All were preceded by countless failures. The light bulb, for instance, wasn't invented in a single try. Thomas Edison famously failed thousands of times before he found the right filament for the light bulb. He didn't see his failures as a sign of incompetence. He saw each one as a step closer to the answer he was searching for. Likewise, every great athlete you admire has faced failure along the way. Michael Jordan, often regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was famously cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't let that failure define him. Instead, he used it to fuel his determination to improve. He practiced harder, worked longer, and refined his skills until he became the legend we know today. You see, failure isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's an invitation to learn, to grow, and to evolve. Every time you fail and get back up, you become stronger. Failure teaches you what doesn't work, so you can focus your energy on what will. And each time you improve, each time you adjust, you get closer to realizing your goals. Failure is an essential part of the process because it brings you the clarity and wisdom you need to push forward in the right direction. But perhaps the most important lesson failure offers is resilience. Life is rarely a straight line, and achieving your dreams is never as simple as a quick climb to the top. There will be bumps, twists, and turns, and at some point you will face obstacles that seem insurmountable. It's in those moments that failure becomes your greatest ally. It's through the tough times when you feel like giving up that you have the opportunity to prove your resilience. In fact, the act of failing itself is a victory. Every time you fail and rise again, you are strengthening your character. You are proving to yourself that you are not defined by your failures, but by your response to them. When you keep going, when you choose not to give up, even when things don't go your way, you build unshakable confidence. You start to see failure not as an enemy, but as a necessary challenge to overcome in order to succeed. Let's also remember that failure is rarely permanent. It may feel like a setback at the time, but it's not the end of your journey. It's simply a moment in the larger story of your success. When you fail, it doesn't mean your dream is over. It means you're one step closer to making it a reality. You're adjusting your course, refining your strategy, and preparing for the next phase of growth. The only true failure is the failure to try, because as long as you're willing to get back up and keep going, you're still on your way to success. So don't fear failure. Embrace it. Let it be your teacher, your guide, and your motivation. Each failure is a step forward, not a step backward. Each time you fail, you learn, you grow. and you become better equipped to tackle the next challenge. Your failures are not the end of your story, they are the stepping stones that will lead you to the success you desire. Remember, no one achieves their dreams by avoiding failure. The most successful people are those who have failed the most and kept going anyway. They know that each failure is just a part of the bigger picture. So keep going, keep failing. And know that with each step, you are getting closer to your ultimate success.